Welcome back to Film Talk. I know it's been a while, but I'm back today to talk about Damien Chazelle's brand new Hollywood epic, Babylon. He has made some amazing films in his career, and he's already in my top 3 favorite directors of all time. Let's go through some of his films that he has made. His first film ever is Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench. Then he broke it big with Whiplash, really got him on the map. Then he hit it even bigger with my favorite Chazelle film and probably my favorite film ever, La La Land. He followed up La La Land with an intimate portrait of Neil Armstrong, which I thought was really awesome. And now in 2022, he gives us Babylon. Babylon is set in 1920s Hollywood during the transition to sound, much like Singing in the Rain. And if you've seen this movie, you know how much Chazelle loves Singing in the Rain. It may be his favorite movie. I know he says The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is his favorite movie, but I've seen more influences from Singing in the Rain from him. This movie is one of those old school epics where it follows a huge cast of characters and just really weaves in and out of each of their stories, much like The Godfather. And I think his main structural influences were The Godfather, Nashville, and La Dolce Vita. This movie is right up my alley. It stars my favorite actress of all time, Margot Robbie. It has Brad Pitt, who is a huge movie star. It's about like my favorite topic of any history, old Hollywood. And it's directed by one of my all-time favorite directors, and he's just so personal to me, Damien Chazelle. With all of that said, I was destined to love this, and loved this I did. This movie is unlike any other Chazelle movie since it is so explicit and it's really showing the excess of the period and the debauchery of all of the main characters and the lifestyles that they live in 1920s Hollywood. A lot of people have been describing this as The Wolf of Wall Street, directed by Baz Luhrmann, which is pretty accurate if you ask me. Definitely The Wolf of Wall Street, since it shows how much excess that these lifestyles entail. And that first party scene at the beginning of the movie may be the greatest party scene ever put to film. It is insane, chaotic. It introduces you to all of the main characters. It does a lot for the story as well as introducing you to the film's DNA. A lot of people have been giving this film bad reviews, but I just don't see it. I'm sorry. I think this movie is an epic Hollywood story involving rich characters and an amazing director behind it. I guess if you just can't handle the explicit nature of the film, I can understand. But otherwise, I don't know how any cinema lover is not just eating this up after how many superhero movies and franchise movies we get year after year. This is a huge breath of fresh air, and honestly, Paramount Pictures may never let anybody make something like this ever again. It's already been a box office failure. Please go out and see it if you can. This movie needs to make a lot of money to get back its budget, but I'm just so glad that it's out there into the world for us to watch for the rest of time. Margot Robbie plays Nellie Leroy, and this may be Margot Robbie's best performance. I know I have The Wolf of Wall Street as her number one right now, but this could be her greatest performance so far. Her character is highly influenced by the real-life Clara Bow from the 1920s Hollywood. I recently read a biography of Clara Bow called Clara Bow Runnin' Wild in preparation for this movie, and yeah, they run the same paths pretty much. So if you're interested in 1920s Hollywood, definitely read that book. Brad Pitt plays Jack Conrad, and he's amazing also. He has some hilarious moments and some downright heartbreaking moments. Guys, the whole cast is great. I could sit here and rave about the whole cast all day long. Diego Calva's amazing. Lee Jun-Lee is amazing. We have a lot of amazing supporting bit players like Carson Higgins and PJ Byrne that just steal the show in their roles in this film. The whole movie is just filled with colorful characters and amazing actors to portray them. Babylon feels like a demented cousin of La La Land in a sense that it is about the Hollywood dream factory, but instead of showing an ideal version of it, we get the underbelly of such a vile society who are actually looked upon as trash of the earth. You'll see in this movie how, at the start of Hollywood, how actors were looked down upon by pretty much society as a whole, and how just wild and chaotic and crazy this period of filmmaking was. They just go out to the desert and people get killed making these movies before any regulations were involved, and it's just a wild time, and it's such a fascinating part of cinema history to me. So it is safe to say that I love this movie so, so much, and I cannot wait to see it a couple more times at the theater. Babylon is such a huge and epic and ambitious piece of filmmaking, especially by a studio. I can't believe they let Damien Chazelle do this with that much money and try to make it mainstream, because this is definitely not a mainstream kind of movie. It definitely feels like one of those rare movies from an amazing director that they would probably make years later in their career. Babylon is a journey through the history of cinema and the people who gave their life, sacrificed everything, and to pave the way for this art form, even if this art form pushes them aside when they are done with them. All of these characters are individual parts of a bigger whole of the amazing art form we love to call cinema. The movies were built by people like Manny, Nellie, and Jack, who gave everything to this art form that decided when they weren't good enough for it. Manny found what he was looking for, but it was years later when he realized just how big of a thing he was a part of. Chazelle drives this home with the most breathtaking and ambitious ending I've seen this year, with the most massive fourth wall break you could ever imagine. Manny, Nellie, and Jack paved the way for a huge art form that continues to push boundaries 100 years after they were birthing it. Manny achieved his dream of being a part of something bigger, probably something much bigger than he ever could have imagined. Chazelle's film is now a part of their story, and one that I'm sure the real people are smiling down at from up above. I have so many thoughts about this movie, and I'm going to see this a couple more times at the theater. So if you want to see my other thoughts, you can go to my Letterboxd and see my review on that. I'll go ahead and rate this movie. I'm going to give it an easy 10 out of 10. I thought this was probably the best film. No, definitely the best film I've seen in 3 whole years since 2019, when Parasite, The Irishman, Marriage Story, all of those movies came out back in 2019. This is my favorite movie of the year, and I can't wait to watch it several more times at the movies. Thank you for watching, guys, and go see Babylon.